Good?
네, 지금 해주세요.
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome back. We're here in Pangyo, Techno Valley, and I'm here with the VP of Go Cuba. This is Leland. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, Alex, it's good to be here.
Very excited to hear what you have to say about your company. We got to talk a little bit before we started, so without further ado, give us a little self-introduction about you and your company.
Yeah, so we're a startup here in Pangyo, but we have an office up near Yangjae and other places as well. But we're trying to make a difference in the world. I mean, that's what all startups are trying to do, right? And we're looking at basically trying to help with the Alzheimer's issue. Alzheimer's and other neurological diseases that is quite pervasive, and especially here in Korea, you know, with so many people getting older, right? Becoming in the elderly society.
Sure, absolutely. It's an aging demographic here. So how does that work? Your product, if you will, is something related to AI technology, I know.
Yep.
So
AI,
tell us about your product and what do you produce? What's your research? What do you sell?
Yeah. So basically, I mean, you got to start from, the problem, right? The problem is that we're not catching Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and a few other diseases early enough. So when people are actually diagnosed as having Alzheimer's, it's already kind of too late. We can't really do much. Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to get an early warning signal somehow. Okay, so that's the problem. That's what we're trying to solve, right? And so we were thinking, like, how are we going to do this? And is there something that our company can do to approach this problem? It turns out that the movement of your eyes is very highly correlated with the health of your neurological system, and specifically with your memory and the way that your brain's working. So that's basically a data point that we can use to detect Alzheimer's and early forms of Alzheimer's at an early enough stage to start treatment. I personally have a little bit of a personal history with Alzheimer's because my grandfather died from it. So I kind of understand a little bit what from the family side, what they go through, right? And one of the big issues with Alzheimer's is that even if the family knows that someone, especially like their father or whatnot, has some kind of issue with their memory, they don't really want to accept it in many cases. So on my side, I'm looking at this and saying, hey, we're using hard data, eye movement, that can actually give us a signal. And that's what is needed to actually begin the process of getting into the full system and the support system and all the diagnosis that needs to be done and all of the additional changes to lifestyle and all of this other stuff. It's not easy to try to treat Alzheimer's. There's a lot that has to be done, and it's a huge effort. And so I think that that's one of the reasons why most families don't want to accept that their father or whoever has it, right? Because it means a complete change in their life. And also, it's strange because once they actually accept it, that their father or whatnot has Alzheimer's, then it's kind of like the acceptance makes it a much bigger problem, in their heart and in the whole family. So yeah, we're getting hard data, and that data has been available in the past, but it's been very difficult or expensive to get that data, and also it's been very difficult or expensive to use it as a diagnostic tool. But these days, because of the massive improvements in AI deep learning technology, as well as access to very low cost and good eye tracking systems, now we have enough data at a cheap enough price, and we have the algorithms and the software to actually combine that together into making a signal.
And so this is a great way to kind of inform the family in advance, but then who else could receive this data, or who else could benefit from knowing about it? Is this something that the government would want to know about for support systems?
Yeah, governments, they really want this sort of data. Like if we can tell the Korean government, hey, this person has a very high likelihood of having Alzheimer's in the near future, they really want to know about that as soon as possible, because it's for the person's health themselves, and it's also for the well-being of their family. And also, as a society, Alzheimer's and other diseases like this, like neurological diseases, it's a very, very heavy burden for the entire healthcare system, because again, as I said, in most cases you can't just solve it. It's not like you go have surgery and you're good. It's like the rest of your life you're going to be getting help, and it's really, really expensive. It's a very heavy burden. So if we can tell the government, hey, instead of $600,000 of healthcare costs in the future, let's approach this problem now, and let's fix it now, and let's diagnose it, and let's start doing something about it. Yeah, the government really wants to know that. Insurance companies, they want to know that as well, because they're insuring people for health and life, and they want to know this as quickly as possible. So those are potential partners that we also are looking at working with. Yeah.
So when it comes to diagnosing someone with Alzheimer's, is it just that simple test where you follow the dot up and down, or is there something more to it that you guys are working on?
So actually, yeah, just doing like a very simple saccades test, or just jumping pursuit test, and these very basic tests where you're just watching a dot on like a wall or something. It's totally possible. You get the data that you need from that, but it's super boring. And also seniors, they don't really like doing boring things like that if they can help it. And it's also difficult to get their attention and focus for the amount of time that's required and the amount of data that's required to actually use this as something to generate a signal. You come into let's imagine once a month, which is already quite a big burden, right, every month. Let's say you go to a local hospital that has these devices set up for eye tracking, and then you go and do the test about 20 minutes or so, and then, oh, you're healthy, you're fine, okay, come back next month, see you again, right? Every month coming back and forth, it's not something that they want to do, so that's why they don't do it right now, right? What we want to do is, because, as I said previously, we finally have the technology to do all this at a lower price point and with more accessible sensors. We want to integrate this tracking and this signal creation AI with the stuff that the seniors already want to do. And what do seniors want to do? They want to experience different types of entertainment. Sometimes they want to just play games or whatnot with friends and with other people in their local communities. So we're looking at the Microsoft HoloLens 2 device right now as the first device that we're trying to actually build a launch product on top of. Again, our company, we're just focused on the algorithms and the AI software that is used for converting the raw data into a signal. But in order to actually have a working product, you need to have a combination of the hardware, of entertainment or content that the seniors actually want to engage in, especially interactive content, and then of course the actual stuff that we're doing, which is the processing of the data. So our kind of goal, or our vision of what we want to happen is a senior goes to a senior center or a community center or something similar to this. And in Korea, actually, they go quite often because it's kind of like just a place to know what's going on in the local community and to maybe just touch base with friends and this sort of thing. So they'll go there once a week or more or less often, right? We want them to go in there, and then we have this Microsoft HoloLens headset just sitting there. They can put it on, and then maybe they just try out some kind of immersive experience or whatnot. Maybe there's like a catch the fish sort of thing, and they can walk around, and maybe we have like 2 or 3 of them, doing it together, kind of like a game, and something that is approachable to them and that they actually want to do, bingo and these sorts of things. I know in Canada, bingo is a big thing for seniors, but basically we want to give them an experience or an interactive game experience or some other experience that they want to do. But at the same time, we're getting really important data to help protect their health. So instead of going into the doctor's office and doing these red dot tests and whatnot, we're just getting the data passively while they are already getting some enjoyment and some value out of it.
That sounds like a nice way to kind of make the community center a little more fun and maybe interactive as well. Let me take you outside of Korea. I know you have a connection to Canada. You're from Canada. And we were talking earlier about Edmonton. Is that where you're from?
Yeah, that's my hometown.
Okay. So what does that have to do with the AI community?
Well, thank you for asking this, Alex. So yeah, Edmonton is actually fairly decently well known for machine intelligence. There's the AMII, Alberta Machine Intelligence Institute, I think.
Alberta being the province that it's in, right?
Yeah, and they're quite well known for machine intelligence. Their team is led by a pretty famous guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But we want to, after we have an initial prototype out there, being launched and actually being used by people in Korea, we want to interact with those guys at AMI to improve our accuracy and to make something that is really, really useful for detecting early as possible, right? The more accuracy we have, then the earlier we can actually detect these issues, right?
Right. Does your company have any other plans overseas in the near future besides maybe working with Canada?
Yeah, so in terms of actually going to market and getting traction in another market and trying to sell our service, we're looking at Singapore, number one Singapore. There's also a few other places we're looking at, but we want to make a good success in a single, very high opportunity space first. So we're focusing all our attention on Singapore. And the reason being the Singapore government and Singapore as a whole. Well, number one, they do have a lot of elderly. It's kind of similar to Korea, where they're an aging population. And we want to tap into the very, very high interest of Singapore in protecting their elderly from Alzheimer's and other neurological diseases that can be slowed or prevented if you catch them early enough. There's actually a very, very big push in Singapore. They have a few different organizations that are specifically devoted to treating dementia and trying to prevent it. And so it's a really great opportunity for us. Yeah.
Great. Well, let's bring it back full circle here. Come back to Pangyo a little bit. Can you tell us about your experiences here in Pangyo? What have been some of the advantages of being here?
Yeah, so I mean, of course, as a startup, you can get office space, anywhere. Office space is the baseline is just a room where you got all your people, sit down and do your work, right? But one of the biggest reasons why we are here in Pangyo is because of, I guess, two things. Number one is the opportunity for networking with like-minded startups and also with a lot of important players in the startup ecosystem. And then number two is having access to also the investment community. It's kind of like there's Pangyo, and then there's also south side, Gangnam, around the Solong area. But these are kind of two major powerhouse areas for where all of the startups are and where all of the investment interest is and whatnot. So, and there's also a big advantage to being in Pangyo in terms of just the facilities here, right? So yeah, I mean, this network advantage and being where everyone else is, you can't really help it, right?
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk with us. That's Leland, Vice President of GoCuba.
Thanks.
Cool. Well done.